You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. If you're new to the show, we release brand new conversations with unconventional money makers every single day of the week. So if you haven't yet, please be sure to go to your podcast app of choice right now, hit the subscribe or follow button so you never miss an opportunity to learn how to make more money. Leave us a quick rating review while you're there. We'll be eternally grateful to you. Today on the show, we're talking a little bit about real estate, multifamily real estate, with my new friend, Paul Moore. Paul is the founder of Wellings Capital, a real estate private equity firm that has placed over $180 million in equity in commercial real estate projects. After starting his career at Ford Motor Company, Paul co-founded a staffing firm, later selling it to a publicly traded company. He's completed over 100 commercial and residential real estate investments, authored 3 books, and contributed to Bigger Pockets, Fox Business, and the Real Estate Guys Radio. A dynamic speaker and podcast guest, Paul is passionate about helping investors build true wealth through commercial real estate while using his platform to combat human trafficking through Wellings Capital's philanthropic mission. So plenty of things to talk about here, from building traditional businesses, exiting those businesses, investing in real estate, lots of ways to make more cash. Paul Moore, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, it's great to be here, Travis. Thank you.
Let's go back in time, Paul. Way back in time. Tell me how you made your first dollar ever. First dollar ever.
Oh, first dollar ever. I was in college at Marietta College getting an engineering degree, which was my first mistake. And on the side,
Where's Marietta College?
It's in Southern Ohio, and two-thirds of the kids who went there were from the Northeast, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey. And we realized that a lot of them, at least my friend and I, thought they didn't get Easter baskets anymore. Wouldn't it be cool if their parents lived in town, they could give them an Easter basket? So we secretly somehow got a list of all the students' home addresses, and we mailed all 1,000 or so students' parents a letter saying, hey, look, for $30 or whatever, you can send your kid a big Easter basket. We'll have it at their door of their dorm room on Easter morning. And we had hundreds of people out of the 1,000 we sent say yes. And so we delivered those to their door. And I think my buddy and I made a whopping $500 each. I don't mean to brag.
I mean, $500 is $500 for any college student. That's a lot of money. But back then, I'm sure it was a lot more than it is now.
Yeah, right. That was in 1984, I think, if I recall.
Yeah. So that's a good day is what that is.
Yeah, it was.
Well, tell me how you made your most recent dollar, Paul.
Oh, my most recent dollar. Well, Warren Buffett says, if you don't learn to make money while you sleep, you'll have to work until you die. And so I made my most recent dollar in the last hour, I guess, from commercial real estate. We invest passively in commercial real estate at Wellings Capital. We've got investments in with 25 different hand-picked operators in thousands of self-storage, mobile home parks, apartment buildings, etc. And those investments produce money day and night.
Got it. So you guys actually go out and find operators. These are not people that work inside of Wellings Capital.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We don't operate anything. We don't have any debt. We just work. We just pull money in from accredited investors, and then we invest it in these deals, and then we give our investors a return. If there's money left over, we split the profit on the other end.
Interesting. So when you're looking at there's plenty of ways to do this in commercial real estate. And some people that specialize in, medical facilities. Some people specialize in self-storage. Some people specialize in industrial. Some people specialize in multifamily apartments. There's plenty of room to operate within the space. So you guys don't worry about driving specific knowledge in one of these areas. You basically just go find somebody that's buying a bunch of self-storage, and you go, they're really good at self-storage. Instead of us trying to compete with them and get deals from them, we just go, hey, tell us about your next deal, and we'll throw $3 million in it.
That's exactly right. Our last deal, we invested $15 million in a $51 million apartment acquisition. And the owners and their friends put in $6 million. That we took that $21 million, added $30 million in Fannie Mae debt, and we're off to the races. And so we don't care about the geography at all. We let the operators pick that. We figure if we can get experts in every field, then, it's sort of a Berkshire Hathaway strategy. Buffett and Munger, God rest his soul, had 108 companies that were all experts in their own fields, and they let them do the heavy lifting. And then they, with 28 people in their headquarters in Berkshire Hathaway, are the 7th largest public corporation in America.
That's pretty ridiculous when you think about the leverage of people in that small office.
Right. It's amazing.
Let's bridge the gap here, Paul. We talked about at the very beginning of this that you made your first dollar selling Easter baskets. Now you made your most recent dollar investing millions of dollars into real estate deals. What happened in between? There's a lot of career that happened in between. You started at Ford Motor Company, and then you co-founded a staffing firm. You sold it to a publicly traded company. Let's talk about the beginning stages of all of this. Were you always an entrepreneur in your mind, and that's what pulled you out of Ford Motor Company? Or tell me about the process there.
Yeah, I love Ford. I always did. And the second or third month I was at Ford, though, I found myself trying to figure out something to do in my spare time in the evenings and weekends. Tried to start an oil change shop near Dearborn, Michigan. Started a real estate company that assessed property taxes for business owners and tried to find mistakes in the property tax records and save them money, all kinds of things like that. So 5 years into Ford, I jumped out. 5 years into the new company, we sold it to a public firm, and that's where I got in big trouble because I thought, I'm a full-time investor now. I was going to put it on my business card like some hot shot. I was an idiot. I was a full-time speculator.
Wait, hang on, Paul. Hang on. How old were you?
I was only 34.
Okay. All right.
And I had a couple $1 million and I had an MBA even after my engineering degree, but I didn't know the first thing about investing. I thought I should get the same thrill and fun and excitement out of investing that I did from being an entrepreneur. And that was a huge mistake because once years later, I studied Warren Buffett and Howard Marks and Charlie Munger and these guys, I realized good investing should be boring. Paul Samuelson, the first Nobel Peace Prize winner in economics from the U.S., said that investing should be like watching paint dry or watching grass grow. If you want excitement, take $800 and go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That's not a bad way to spend a weekend for everybody listening. I live in Vegas. There's always fun stuff to do with $800 in Las Vegas. Although $800 doesn't go as far as it used to. I will say that. Yeah.
Yes.
With these like new $25 minimums on a table, you could lose that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's gambling, not investing. That's the difference between speculation and investing. Is one's a gamble and one's something that you should be doing.
Yeah. So to continue my story, I made some money as a speculator and I lost a lot of money and I learned a lot of lessons. In fact, I had a podcast for 4 years, you can still listen to it, called How to Lose Money. And we talked to people about their mistakes, pain, losses, failures on the way to eventual success. We talked to people like Gino Wickman of Traction.
Yeah.
We talked to Mike Michalowicz. We talked to different people who made incredibly painful journeys, but had ultimate success. And I realized, hey, I can do this too. I just need to become boring. And so now I call myself the boring investor.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good thing for people listening. Yeah. What did you start investing into immediately at that time when you were in your 30s?
Oh man, how much time do you have? I invested with a guy in Charlotte who was making 2 to 3% returns for his investors monthly, doing a very secretive foreign exchange strategy. He wouldn't tell anybody how it worked. He told people conflicting stories on what he was actually doing, and he's now on year 24 of his 158-year prison term.
I was going to say that's called fraud. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, again, I'm quoting them. They say, if you don't understand something, walk away quickly. They
Yeah.
said, we don't like to jump over 8-foot hurdles. We like to step over 1-foot hurdles. And that's where we are now, investing in boring assets, 20 years later, investing in self-storage, mobile home parks, apartments. What can be more boring than four pieces of sheet metal, a floor, and a door?
So did you go directly into commercial real estate then at that point, or were you actively looking for other businesses to operate? Were you trying to buy a business, or were you thinking at
Yeah.
all along those terms, or were you like, you know what, I still just need to find somewhere that's a better place to have my money work for me?
Yeah, no, I started probably 5 or 10 different businesses.
Okay.
Most of them I've forgotten along the way. Some failed. A few succeeded along the way. But no, I was in residential real estate for about 11 years.
As an
And
investor?
then, yeah, as an active house flipper
Okay.
and single family guy, and then did some land development, made huge money in land development, and then lost a lot in 2008. So,
Mhm.
but on the, I made more money than I lost, thankfully. But at the same time, I still, during that time, didn't understand the difference between investing and speculating. And then finally, when I got into commercial real estate in 2011, I learned those lessons. I actually got a very, very conservative business partner, which helped a whole lot as well.
And how old were you when you started into the commercial real estate space in 2011?
I was about 48. I'm
Okay.
61 now.
Yeah, that's what I love to hear, man, is that there's always room for
Yeah.
reinvention and there's always room for pivots. It doesn't matter where you're starting. It doesn't matter how long it took you to quote unquote wake up or to figure
Yes.
something out or to realize that you were wrong. As long as you maintain the flexible mindset to be able to rethink your opinions at
Right.
any stage of life, then you can change your situation in a matter of just a couple of years, which sounds like that's something that you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie Munger stood up before 40,000 Berkshire devotees and said, we were horses' asses. We were wrong. And he basically proved, that a public CEO could say, we were wrong, we failed you, we changed our minds dramatically. And there's so many examples of that. If we had more time, I'd love to tell you some stories from them. But yeah, I had to realize that I was wrong and I changed my mind. And it's been just, I've had so much fun since I realized the difference between investing and speculating. And it's been really fun. We have 960 investors who trust us, and it's just been a great journey.
I know that before we hit the record button, you were telling a couple of stories about your opinion on this miserly culture that exists within the personal finance world versus this kind of abundance mindset culture. Can you give me your overall thoughts and opinion on that? And then tell me that story that you mentioned before we hit the record button.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm right on this, Travis, because I think everybody's different. And some people, like I get joy out of being a boring investor. Some people might get joy out of saving money and putting money away and the fire concept. I get all that. I really do. And so maybe I'm wrong. But my family, and I have 4 kids that are all adults now, we have fun memories. We have fun memories of blowing money, going to Florida and doing different things and renting a vacation cabin and owning a lakefront home for a while. I had a friend named Doug who was about a year or 2 older than me, and Doug, was super miserly, and he was, like, scowling all the time when they spent money, and "We can't buy an ice cream cone, we gotta save money for retirement," and all this. We'd go to their house, and they had, like, some kinda rule you couldn't flush the toilet until, like, the 3rd person had peed, and it was gross, and it was like, "Are you kidding?" And, saving, what, a tenth of a cent per toilet flush?
Right, right.
And, anyway, he died at a young age. He died at, like, 57 or 58,
Yeah.
5 years ago, and, like, he's not even alive to spend, enjoy all the money that he saved, and his kids, honestly, I know them all really well. I don't think they have the best memories of those years, and
Yeah.
so I personally don't agree with that, even though I know other people might get joy out of saving money, you know?
Well, here's the problem. The problem to me, anyway, is that in the online content space, and even not just online, just in traditional media in general, we've moved toward this polarizing information culture that requires you to say something that is polarizing in order for it to get traction or viewership. And I think that people have just gotten kind of married to being on either side of this argument, where I see some people that's kind of like this, the 10x crowd, that's like the if you don't become a billionaire, you're being selfish type of a thing. And then you have the other people on the other side of the coin that are like, if you spend money on Starbucks, you should feel guilty. If you have credit card debt and you're spending money on Starbucks, this is a waste of money. Like, save the $4, whatever. And so I just believe that there's a healthy version of both of these things, and we can meet in the middle, which is the purpose of the show, which is to say that, like, if you get into that mindset of saving every penny, pinching every penny, penny saved is a penny earned, it's like, well, penny saved is just a penny. it's you still have a penny. You're still broke if you just saved a penny. So
Right.
financial discipline is very important, and you should have a budget, and you should know where your money is going, and you should tell your dollars where to go in your monthly expenses, and keep an eye on it. But when you start playing that game too much, it's exactly what happened with your friend, where you start valuing the dollar figure in your bank account more than you value the quality of your life and your experiences.
Right.
And that, to me, is like missing the point. We're missing
Right.
the point. Like, this is obviously a money show. I am pro making money. I am pro capitalism. I am pro getting as much of it as you can get. But only to the degree that you use it to exchange it for things that bring more enjoyment, experience, memories, fulfillment,
Amen.
and happiness into your life. Or else, what's the point? It's not just to have
Absolutely.
a dollar figure go up and have the scoreboard of money have you as in the W column. It's so
Yeah.
that you can enjoy life, man, and build your life in a way that's a fruitful thing, and instead of just this arbitrary number in a bank account.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am also, though we don't have time to get into it, I would love to tell you maybe on another show the story about how I went from $2.5 million in debt to debt free during the great financial crisis. And the strategy I used will shock everybody.
Well, I mean, we can't leave it off at a cliffhanger like that. So let's get into that story really quickly. Let's maybe give us a 30,000 foot view of the story.
Well, I mean, I went in, I had $1.5 million in the bank in 2007 at age 34. Exactly 10 years later to the month, I had $2.5 million in debt. And with that debt, we were right on the edge as Americans, as of plunging down this cliff called the Great Financial Crisis, or the Global Financial Crisis, according to some. And I pulled my family together, my CPA, her husband, and a couple friends, and I said, "Hey, I got a strategy here. We're going to give our way out of debt." And everybody looked at me like I was crazy, and I literally said, "No, we're going to start giving. I really believe those who give will receive more back." Some people call it karma. Some people call it sowing and reaping, which is what I would call it. And so on January 1st, 2008, knowing the economy was cracking and falling apart, but not knowing how badly, we started giving a large amount a weekly amount to charities that we really cared a lot about. And, we were already giving, but we made it a weekly, like, okay, we're writing a check to so-and-so. Let's celebrate. And let's hope that that something changes here. So 4 weeks into this, I met a friend, a real estate developer at Subway restaurant, and I said, "Man, I am in deep doo-doo. I got $2.5 million in debt." I forgot to mention, Travis, my partner in December of 2007 said, "I'm done. I'm signing all the properties over to you and all the debt over to you. I can't continue to make half payments on this massive growing debt." And so
Wow.
we're still good friends, by the way. We still hang out together, but I said, "I understand," but I said, "We're going to get out of this. You watch." And I just really believe in the biblical principle that the more you give, the more you get back. And I think this is proven by secular and religious authorities in all kinds of different religions, but we can get into that another day.
It absolutely is.
Anyway,
Yeah.
4 weeks later, I met my friend at Subway. I told him about a 5-acre parcel I had, waterfront tract at Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia. I said, man, if I could just do this, if I could change the zoning, I could get it broken into 5 tracts, sell it off, and pay off my debt. And he said, well, and he gave me this one little nugget of an idea that mushroomed in my brain. And within 2 days, I was in front of the Bedford County, Virginia planning and zoning people, giving them this insane idea. And the lady looks up at me after I gave her this idea, and she was really old. She said, Mr. Moore, I've been working here like, I think it was 35 years. No one has ever come up with such an outrageous plan to circumvent our zoning law. And then she smiled. She goes, but you did. I don't know how you did this. She said, but you're right. You can do this, and I won't stop you. Anyway, so there was a lot of work left in front of me. I still had to do septics. I had to do surveys. I had to get lawyers. I had to race against this debt clock in this plunging economy. But 13 months later, I was completely debt free. I even paid off my house.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Just from the relationship that came from giving.
I can't prove that, Travis, but I sure do believe it.
Of course not. Yeah, that's what we call ROR, return on relationships.
I love that.
It's like return on relationships is the one thing that you can't measure, but the one thing that will always work out.
I love that. I never heard that before. That's good.
It's what made it tough for me. Like the show used to be called Build Your Network, and we talked a lot about networking and relationships and the importance of it. Really, just trying to highlight how something like that, a single conversation, a single connection, can lead to outsized growth, outsized success. And that was the biggest obstacle, the biggest hurdle I had to overcome with people was they just especially if you're a finance person, if you're a numbers person, it can be really difficult to dedicate time, energy, and especially money into growing and building relationships because you can't measure or track the ROI the same way that you can when you're doing a marketing campaign or you're acquiring a property or something like that. It's like, well, that makes sense. That makes actual sense on paper. Relationships don't always make sense on paper, but if you just believe in that and trust that, the universe, God, whatever you believe in is going to have your back on it, it will work out. To what degree? I don't know. When? Right. I don't know. Where? I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like, just trust me, it'll work out. Isn't always the best financial plan. Right. But when you're investing in people and relationships and doing it from this giving, point of view, I've not ever seen it not work out for somebody long term.
That's so good. I love that. Thank you.
So you now are focused on all forms of commercial real estate. I'm very curious to hear what your perspective or opinion is on the current state of commercial real estate. It's kind of been squeezed over the last 12 to 18 months and will probably continue to be squeezed from what I've been hearing and seeing from a lot of my friends in the space and even from some of my own personal investments in commercial. Yeah. What are you seeing right now in the landscape of commercial real estate that might be different than it was a couple of years ago, things that investors should look out for?
Yeah, as we speak, as we record this, Travis, there's $384 billion of commercial real estate debt that's coming due this year. And a huge percentage of it, I mean, I think I don't even want to say the number, but it's like 70 maybe, was extend and pretend, which means the banks said, okay, we're going to overlook your deadline, for this loan to come due in 2023, 2024, but now it's due. And they're way more likely, though we don't know what'll happen this year, they're way more likely to foreclose now that there's optimism, that cap rates are normalizing, that interest rates have stabilized, or maybe they're going the other direction. They're way more likely to foreclose. And there are eager buyers, especially in multifamily, waiting to scoop those properties up for the amount of the loan value. So it could be an interesting year, but I want to make a very, very important point. And I bet you already know who I'm going to quote. Warren and Charlie said that they never, in 60 years of investing together, they never had one conversation about the economy in deciding whether to make an investment or a divestment. They only looked at the asset type, whether it was like hopefully recession resistant, the product, whether it was a durable product, the management team, whether they were capable. And that's what they looked at. They never cared about the economy.
Hmm.
And so our company feels the same way. We've been eagerly investing in self-storage, mobile home parks, multifamily in the midst of a commercial real estate market that's really questionable. And we have been doing really, really well. It's a matter of finding intrinsic value. Buffett said, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And we're looking to get outsized value by investing in completely poorly managed self-storage and mobile home parks with millions of dollars of built-in value once you just turn a few knobs.
How can sorry to
pretty
cut you off.
amazing.
How
Yeah.
how can somebody listening get involved in this space if it's something that they're like, let's say they're making 90 to 120 grand a year. They
Yeah.
have they are, they're able to save $1,000, $2,000 a month. They have some emergency savings. They have a little bit of
Yeah.
cash, and they're wondering like, how could I get involved in commercial real estate?
So there's a couple things you can do. You can either use what I'm about to tell you to jump into commercial real estate full time, or you can use it to make money on the side. Okay. So I wrote a book. I'm not trying to advertise the book. I don't
No,
care if you
please do.
or
You
not.
should advertise the book. I'll advertise it for you. What's the name of the book?
Okay. Well, it's called Storing Up Profits. And the reason I'm holding it in my hand, which I never do, is I wanted to read from the third section of the book here that I was going to use the index because
Let's do it.
I haven't told this story in a long time.
And this is
But
a Bigger Pockets book, correct?
yeah, it's a book that was published by Bigger Pockets in 2021. And it's got 7 different paths to either make money on the side in commercial real estate or jump in, though you've got a day job and you're a busy person already. And the paths are as follows. Number 1, I call it stair stepping, which is a long and winding road. That basically means going out and buying a small facility, pull a few friends and family money together. You could buy a small mobile home park, a small self-storage facility, a small apartment building, dress it up, clean it up, paint it up, fix it up, build it out, and then sell it for a profit, and then do it again at a larger, and then do it again at a larger. Okay, so that's one way. Now that's more going into you're kind of getting a job by doing that.
Very active. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily what I'd recommend for most. A second way is I call baptism by fire, and that's if you win the lottery, you win in Vegas, you get an inheritance, you've got several $1,000,000, you just want to jump in and buy a facility. And, basically I talk here about why you need professional property managers, asset managers around you if you're going to do that. But path number 3 is the one I want to focus on, and that's be a deal finder. Everybody lives within, I'm sure, within a 20 or 30-mile radius. Almost everybody lives near multiple mobile home parks, self-storage facilities, maybe even some rundown apartments. Be a deal finder. Go find somebody wanting to buy those. Somebody like one of my best friends is in Las Vegas. He buys self-storage and mobile home parks, but he can't find them all. Go be a deal finder. Say, look, give me 5% ownership or a 5% payout, as long as it's not a realty commission, a finder's fee. Go out and find these deals. I'll tell you this, the first deal I found, my buddy and I found it in Fairbanks, Alaska. And we flipped it to a guy in California for a $625,000 profit. So we got it under contract at $3.5 million. He put it under contract with us for whatever the difference is, $4.125 million, and we flipped it. It was effortless after we did the due diligence and got it under contract. He took it from there. We made $625,000. Now, my friend Tim used his portion of that to jettison himself out of his W-2 job. Now he owns 7 mobile home parks 4.5 years later. So that is a not only a way to make money on the side, but an entree into commercial real estate. We put an offer out yesterday on a side deal where my friend is going to make friend and I are going to split $150,000. It was just a deal he found, and I found the buyer for him, and we're going to split it. So that is definitely the way to go to make money on the side. If we have time, I can go through a few more paths here.
Yeah, what I really like to do is just drill down on that one a little bit more,
Yeah.
and then we'll get you out of here. How do you find like if somebody's listening to this, they might be just being like, "That sounds awesome, Paul. I have no idea where to even start looking for these types of deals." Like, I mean, I can Google where storage places are, but how do I know if they're like, can I just reach out to them? Can I offer them something? Like, how do I know it's a good deal? How do I know I have a deal in my hands instead of just like, I found a storage place. Does anybody want to
Yeah.
buy it? You know?
Yeah, there are so many mom and pop self-storage, like when I was in Fairbanks, this place had 209. It was I don't know if I said mobile home park or self-storage. It was mobile home park. Had 209 lots. It was listed on Google as an RV park, yet it was a mobile home park. Across the street, there was a sign, a handwritten sign on a self-storage facility, and it said, "Call this number." And I called the number on the self-storage sign, Travis, and it literally said, "This is so and so mobile massage company. If I'm out of range right now, I'll call you back by the weekend because I'm probably traveling around Alaska doing mobile massages," or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And, anyway, no, there's so many mom and pops. The best way to do it is the way that nobody wants to, and that is driving around. Just
Mhm.
drive around and look for facilities, look on Google Maps. Maybe you can use AI. Maybe you can, basically do the heavy lifting that a bigger company is either not positioned to do or because they're not in your town, they're not able to do. And if you can do that consistently for them and get a deal with them where they're gonna pay you consistently, or maybe even give you equity in the deal, you could build a fortune on the side by doing this in your spare time.
Yeah, that's what I love about the space is that it doesn't always require you to have a lot of money. There are other levers of value that you can pull and be responsible for in the transaction itself.
Yeah.
And if you can be the person that brings a deal to the table, there's always money for a deal.
Yeah.
Always. Even
Right.
if you're brand new, if you're totally green, if you find a deal, somebody will finance that deal. Now, like you kind of alluded to earlier, you may not be able to be a 50-50 partner if all you're doing is bringing the deal to the table and you have nothing else of value to contribute, like knowledge or,
Yeah.
expertise in a vertical or additional capital or something like that. But if you find a deal, there are people who have money that want to be a part of the deal. So use the spare time that you have instead of if you don't have any spare money, and be the person to find the deals. And that's the cool thing about these things, man, is like you can change your financial situation in a year from now.
Yeah.
By
It's
finding
absolutely
one of
true.
these types of deals, because people get this idea like they have debt that's insurmountable, and they're 60 to $70,000 in debt, and there's medical debt, and they have some student loans, they have some credit card debt, and they're just like, how do I like thinking about this is kind of the whole point of the conversation, right? Is getting back to circle back to the beginning. It's not just about saving the $70 on Starbucks so that you can put it down on your $65,000 in debt. It's just like that path is so far out from being able to tackle that amount. Whereas like going out and finding a single deal like this, you can make that swing in one transaction and wipe your debt clean and then be in a position to go do another deal and actually store that money away or be an owner, but this time you're a passive owner and you keep 5% of the deal so you get distributions and you have another income stream now because your debt's gone. That's why I say like there's so many ways to figure this thing out. You got to do something. You got to use your spare time in a profitable, valuable way. So Paul, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show today. It's been awesome. Let's move into the last segment sponsored by Go High Level. If you're a business owner, you're looking for a marketing platform, all-in-one CRM solution, I highly recommend you go check out a free 30-day trial of Go High Level, which you can find at gohighlevel.com/Travis. Let's get into this last segment. Paul, you ready?
Yep.
What profession other than your own do you think that it would have been fun to master?
Oh man, That is a tough question. Professional pickleball.
If you could sit on a park bench with someone, past or present, and chat for an hour, who'd it be?
It would definitely be Jesus.
How do you like to learn best? Books, audiobooks, blogs, podcasts, YouTube videos?
It's definitely going to be audio. I would say audiobooks.
What's a good audiobook you'd recommend?
The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
What is your go-to pump-up song, Paul?
Oh, Who Let the Dogs Out?
What is something that you are not very good at?
Windsurfing, tried for years.
Awesome. As we get everything wrapped up here, Paul, where can people go to get more from you?
Wellings Capital, that's WELLINGS, wellingscapital.com/resources. You can actually get free resources on self-storage, mobile home parks, RV parks, and an introduction to commercial real estate.
wellingscapital.com/resources. Go check out some of the stuff that Paul is putting out there. Pick up a copy of his book as well. I'm sure you will not regret that. Paul, thanks so much for taking your time to do this. I know your time is very valuable, so I appreciate you spending some of it with us here on the show. Everybody else listening, remember, money only solves your money problems. But it's a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Catch you next time. Peace out.